Hello everyone, welcome to BISP Solutions. I am Preeti Rajani working here as function consultant. So in our today's video, we will see the rest of the setups of the cash management module that are required in the application. So these are the setups that we are required to perform in the application for the cash management module. First is the manage bank statement transaction code. So what is the bank statement transaction codes? If you want to load electronic bank statement or use cash management's auto reconciliation feature, you have to define the transaction codes, and these are the codes that are provided to you by the bank. For example, you can see that we are giving the transaction code for receipt is 475. So whenever you will use the auto reconciliation feature in the application, it will read the transaction code and then it will match that bank statement line to the transaction in the application with this code. Next setup is Parse rule set. Now we'll see what is the Parse rule sets. When you reconcile the bank statement line and the application transaction, there's a difference in the description. So for the mapping purpose, we create the Parse rule set. With the help of Parse rule set, system reads the rule and then transfers the data from the source field to the target field. Now see here, to transform data during the bank statement import process, we use the Parse rule set. Process rules are used to move data from one field to another. The Parse rules are associated to a bank in the bank account setup. That means when you create the bank account in the application, there's a field called Parse rule set where you have to mention the Parse rule set created by you. Each Parse rule within a Parse rule set consists of the following fields: sequence, transaction code, source field, target field, and rule, and override. So sequence determine the order in which to process the rules, and transaction code, the code used to determine the statement line type. Source field is used, the interface table field that the data to be passed. Target field is used, the statement line field that the data is to be passed to. Rule rule means it contains the syntax for determining the data within the source field to be passed. Override used to control whether to overwrite existing data in a target field or skip the passing data. Next rule is manage bank statement transaction creation rule. In the bank statement transaction creation rule, it is used by Oracle Fusion Cash Management to identify an unreconciled bank statement line or lines and create accounting for that transaction. We have to assign the creation rule to a bank account in the bank account page. Next setup is manage cash transaction type mapping. The transaction type mapping enables you to associate a cash transaction type to an application transaction. Assigning cash transaction types to application transaction result in a more efficient bank statement reconciliation process. This kind of mapping helps you in the reconciliation process. Bank statement lines are also associated with cash transaction types, and matching rules can be created using the common attribute. Our next setup is to create the tolerance rule. So what is tolerance rule? The bank statement reconciliation tolerance rules view object contains amount and date tolerances that prevent or warn users when reconciliation would be a breach of a defined tolerance. The reconciliation tolerance rules are used during automatic and manual reconciliation. Say we can give the tolerance rule. Say we are reconciling the bank statement line and the transaction in the application, and we can give the amount like tolerance amount like 10. So if there is a fluctuation of rupees 10, then the reconciliation will accept that. On the basis of this, the reconciliation can be processed. The next setup is , manage bank statement reconciliation matching rules. The bank statement reconciliation matching rules view objects contain reconciliation matching rules that are used during automatic reconciliation. Each rule determines how the bank statement lines and system transactions are automatically matched. For example, if we have four bills and we have made the payment for four bills by one check, then the matching rule will be taken as many to many. Then the system will be able to match the amount with the four bills and will map the amount with one check amount. This is how the matching rules work. Next setup is manage bank statement reconciliation rule sets. Bank statement reconciliation rule sets are a group of matching rules and tolerance rules. That means while creating this setup in the application, there you have to give the tolerance rule and the matching rules. They are assigned to a bank account and used to reconcile bank statement lines with transaction. When you are using the auto reconciliation feature of the application, there you have to mention the both these setups. On the basis of these setups, the reconciliation will be processed. Now we will move to our application to see how to create these setups in the application practically. Go to setup and maintenance. Select the offering here as financials. Here select the cash management and banking. Select here all tasks. Now click on manage bank statement transaction codes. These are the already created transaction codes. For creating new transaction code, you have to click on this create icon. Give the transaction code. Here give the description. Click on save and close. This is how you can create the transaction code. These transaction codes are provided to you by your bank. So in this way, you can create the transaction codes. Click on done. Now we will see our next setup, that is manage Parse rule sets. Click on create icon. Here you have to give the Parse rule set name. You can see here this create icon got activated. Now click on this. Here select the transaction code. I have selected the one that we have created now. Now here you have to give the source field. The system will read the description of the transaction from here and it will convert to target field. So I'll give here the source field, say check number, and in which field it have to transform the data. Again select here the check number. Here we have to give the rule in the syntax. Now it will read the data from the source field and then it will transform that data into the target field. And whatever there in the source field, it will convert in the target field based on this rule. Or you can say on basis on the this syntax. Now click on save and close. Or we can create one more. Click on save and close. This is how we can create the parse rule sets. Move to our next setup, that is manage bank statement transaction creation rules. These rules are created for the unreconciled line in the bank statement. These are the already created rules. Now click on create icon for new rule. Here you have to give the legal entity here. You can see here it is asking for statement line identification criteria. That means it is asking for bank statement line. And here you have to give the transaction details. That means the transaction in the application. Here you have to give the transaction code. And here you have to give the business unit name. Now we have seen in our PPT that these are used for reconciling the unreconciled lines in the bank statement and also to create the accounting for it. So here you can see we have an option to enable and disable this field. So if we are enabling it, here you have to give the cash account and also you have to give the offset account. So select the cash account here. Now click on save and close. This is how we can create the rule. Click on OK and click on done. Now we are moving to our next setup, that is manage cash transaction type mapping. Click on create icon. Here you have to give the type of the transaction, whether it is a payment or receipt. Say we are giving the receipt. And what is the transaction type? Say we are taking it as electronic funds transfer. In this way, you can create the transaction type mapping. This is an optional setup. This is not a mandatory setup. Click on done. Now we'll move to our next setup, that is manage bank statement reconciliation tolerance rules. This setup is required in both manual and automatic reconciliation. These are the already created tolerance rules, and for creating the new one we have to click on this create icon. Here you have to give the name of the tolerance rule. Say if this rule is not in use anymore, you can deactivate from this checkbox here. You cannot delete any of the tolerance rules, therefore we can deactivate or we can activate the tolerance rule. Now say if you want to give the tolerance at the date level, it means that, say if we are issuing the check today, that is 4th October, and but our supplier is presenting that check in the bank on 10th October, then how the bank statement and the transaction in the application will reconcile. So because there is fluctuation in the date, so we will enable the date tolerance, and we can mention here the days before and after. Say 15, if I am issuing the check on 4th October and I am giving the days after 15, that means it will reconcile the bank line and the transaction till 19th October, because I have mentioned here the 15 days after date. In the same way, if you want to give the amount tolerance, you have to enable this checkbox. Here I am giving the 10. Say if I have given the check of 1000 rupees, but the bank has incurred some charges on it, say for 30 paise or 40 paise, and it will become like 1000.40 paise. If there is fluctuation of 10 rupees, then if the bank statement line and the transaction will be reconciled on the basis of this amount tolerance. In the same way, you can mention the percentage here. They have given one. This is how we can create the tolerance rule. On the basis of this, the reconciliation will be processed. Now click on save and close. This is how we can create the tolerance rule. Click on done here. Now move to our next setup, that is manage bank statement reconciliation matching rule. These are the already created matching rules. Now click on create icon for creating the new one. Give the name of the matching rule here. Here you can deactivate this rule or you can active. For which purposes you can use this matching rule. Say I have to use rule for payables, receivables, external, journal. Now here it will ask matching type. As I have told you, I have 4 bills and I have issued only one check for those 4 bills. Then you have to mention here the matching type. If you will select one to one, then it will not match those 4 bills for one check. If you select here many to many, then it will reconcile on the basis of this matching type. So you have to choose the matching type as per your convenience. I'm selecting many to many. Now here you have to mention the criteria, how it will match many to many. Say I'm selecting transaction date. This is the statement line. That means it is talking about bank statement. And this is the transaction. That means system transaction. Now on the basis of dates, it will match the bank statement line with the system transaction. You can select the other criteria also. Now click on save and close. Click on OK and then done. Now move to our next setup, that is manage bank statement reconciliation rule sets. Now click on create icon. In the bank statement reconciliation rule sets, you have to mention the matching rule and the tolerance rule. This rule is actually used in this rule is used in the automatic feature of reconciliation. Now click on this create icon. Here you have to mention your matching rule. So this is the matching rule created by us now. And here in the tolerance rule, you have to mention the tolerance rule you have created. Now click on OK. Now what is the use of this reconciliation rule set? You have to map this rule set in the bank account page. Click on save and close. We have done all the setups now. Now move to our manage bank account page. Click on edit icon. Here under the control tab, you can see below here. This is the control tab. You can see here it is asking for manual reconciliation tolerance rule. Here you can mention your tolerance rule set. This is the one that we have created now. You have to map the tolerance rule here. And here you can see the automatic reconciliation rule set. When you are reconciling the bank statement line and the transaction system transaction, you have to give the manual reconciliation tolerance set here. But in the automatic reconciliation rule set, we have seen in the rule set creation that it was asking for matching rule set and also tolerance rule set. So here we have mentioned the automatic reconciliation rule set. This is the one that we have created now. And the parse rule set that we have created earlier will be assigned here. You can see this is the one that we have created now. So you have created those setups and assigned in the account page. So this is the use of it. Click on save and close. So this is how we perform these setups. Now in the next video, we will see the use of these setups while reconciling the bank statement transaction automatically and manually. Thank you so much for watching the video.